So, does your steering wheel have the wiggles? When you grab it, can you wiggle it like this without it actually turning the wheels? If so, this video is for you. So, the first thing you're going to want to check when you wiggle the steering wheel is if it wiggles down here too. So, as you can see, mine does. This right here is, I think there's a rubber flex coupling in here. Don't quote me on that. That connects there. But there's also this clamp here. If this is loose, this could cause some weeble wobble. So if you're turning up here, but not down here, take a look here, and then take a look at this here. But if it's turning all the way through the firewall and into the engine bay, I'll pop my hood. So there's their steering rod coming out of the engine bay. If this turns with the steering wheel too, without turning the wheels, then you have to know that your problem is either here in the U-joint connection, or where the steering shaft connects to the U-joints, where that gold bolt is on my car, or if all of that fails, then the last issue is the adjustment of the rack and pinion, which is that little shiny edge 13 or 15 millimeter bolt down there. If that thing is too loose, you might have a little bit of weeble wobble in your steering wheel. And that's what this video is about for today. This is how to adjust the tightness on your rack and pinion here. So this bolt's not the adjuster. As you can see, this little guy turns when you turn the wheels. But this up here, it's you can't see everything from down here, but there is a 15 millimeter nut right. Oh, you can see it right there. And then this big guy is a big old lock nut. I have already loosened this one with vice grips. I was not able to get any of my wrenches on here. I even have a 24 millimeter, or no, 32 millimeter. This is the biggest wrench I have. It doesn't cut it. So vice grips did the job and with minimal damage. So I've already gotten that loosened. It loosens just like a normal bolt. It's not pipe thread or anything. So the way you adjust this, let me get me a 15 millimeter wrench here. So you put your 15 millimeter wrench on here, and the book says to tighten it until you feel definite resistance. I hate those kind of terminologies because what is definite resistance? Anyway, so I'm just going to tighten it until I feel some drag on it. Thinking about right there. And then it said turn back 1/8 of a turn to 1/4 of a turn. So let's go with, like, it's hard to tell what 1/8 is down here, but let's do that. So I'm gonna go back up top and see how tight my steering is. Moves pretty freely. I don't feel any slop or anything. I'm gonna tighten this down just a bit more to right there. That feels like it's catching a tiny, tiny bit, so I'm going to go back to there and call that good. Now in the book it says to go test drive after this, and if the wheel does not self-center, then you're going to need to loosen this back and then readjust it and tighten the lock nut down. So since I got it where I think it should be, I'm gonna go ahead and try and tighten this lock nut without turning from my adjustment position. So this is gonna be much more difficult than it was taking it off. I'm gonna see if I can turn this by hand some to get it like seated at least. But I need to keep this wrench on here so I can make sure the adjustment bolt doesn't turn. I just want the lock nut to turn, and that's it. There we go. Sorry for blocking the camera. There we go. Okay, the lock nut is seated. So I'm gonna go ahead and risk taking my wrench off. I don't think that the little 15mm nut on top is going to, or bolt on top is going to turn significantly enough to make a difference when I do the final tightening on this guy. But we will see. I think I need to go this direction. And snap. I'm gonna put my hand on top so I can feel how much this bolt on top moves, because I don't want it to move very much. Okay, I can feel that moving up there. So I'm gonna try and get a wrench on here. I might have to go up from the top to do that. Yeah, I can get a wrench on here from the top. Try to wedge it. Okay, I got the wrench wedged. I'll show you all that after I tighten this. So it's all wedged in there, so we should, so I can put my hand on here just to make sure that wrench doesn't move and tighten this down. It says 43 foot-pounds in the book. Yeah, good luck getting that. So let's see, this vice grip is about a foot long, so I need to put 43 pounds into the end of it, roughly. So just try to visualize what 43 pounds feels like, and that feels like that to me. Do it. So there's where I wedged the wrench down there. It did work. Now the reason I did this was because I have some slop in my steering, and this didn't fix it. I know what the issue is now. So, see that wiggle? My U-joints aren't broken, but the connection into the U-joint is loose. So I don't have enough clamping force there, so I just simply need to tighten the little bolt down there, if you can see that. And then we should be good to go. All right, so unfortunately what this video is about wasn't what my problem was, but it was still interesting to learn how that all works. This little guy was the problem. This little guy was seized in there and not putting enough clamping force down. We've got a brand new hardened bolt in there that won't shear off ever again. And proof is in the pudding, per se. As you can see, almost no wiggle whatsoever. This thing is a nice tight steering wheel now, and it turns freely enough. We won't know if I got that adjustment back correctly until I'll take it for a road test. I'm testing the steering right now, so as you can see, it's staying centered fine, and it is centering itself slightly. I think I probably could go like a 1/16 of a turn looser, but I don't care that much. It's returning better than it did before I adjusted it, so I guess it was too tight to begin with. So here's a good test here. There she goes. Yep, she did that all on her own. So got it almost back to center, and now it's centered right after it hit a bump and jostled it a bit.